It's no secret that Terraria is a little difficult, and when I was 10 years old, I had two questions in mind. What's the most optimal way to play Terraria? And damn, I need to sue my barber. What is that? As someone who has a few hours in Terraria, I'm going to teach you the wackiest and most efficient ways to become a literal Dark Souls boss while putting in the bare minimum effort because I can't be asked to fish for a weapon that I'm going to have zero purpose for in 3 zeptoseconds after I kill the boss. I'm also going to include some neat and useful tips and tricks of the easiest ways to kill the main progression bosses with minimal effort. In this playthrough, I'm going to be playing on Master Mode to prove to Digital Gamer that I am in fact not a massive L, and show that these weapon and armor combinations are broken beyond belief, while might I add, requiring little effort to acquire. Before you start your journey, I'd recommend choosing Crimson because the Brain of Cthulhu is significantly easier and Hardmode Ichor is an immense benefit to early Hardmode DPS. Once you load into your world, the first thing you're going to want to do is immediately trash the copper short sword and immediately give yourself several splinters with a full set of wooden armor and wooden sword. In the first stage, we're going to be looking for one of these cave entrances to find life crystals, iron, and gold or platinum depending on your world type. On your way there, you may find some bloodthirsty vultures looking to devour your poorly protected body. Don't worry, it's fine. After arriving at the aforementioned cave, we deep dive, collect some basic ores, and death. Cower in a wooden box until daytime to cope with our inability to make any semblance of progress. Once day breaks, the first min-max plan is in motion as we make the minimal space requirement NPC housing, or what it actually is, prison! If you want the actual guide on how to build these things, I'll leave it in the description, but you should be able to just copy what I do here. After finishing constructing NPC jail, the next task on our list is going to be to dig a hole that goes straight to hell, or what is commonly referred to as a Hellevator. This will provide you with easy access to ores, whether it be pre-hard mode or hard mode, as well as a quick way to get down to, well, hell. Digging down, we spot a blue mushroom biome, which are usually guaranteed to have at least a chest or some heart crystals, which we immediately go back to base and pop. Now that we have some basic equipment like the Air Jordans, a cloud in the bottle, and a decent hook, it's time to move on to the most efficient weapon in both cost and damage, which is the God Bless America minishark that fires absurdly fast and can be acquired for a mere 35 gold. However, to purchase this beast of an early game weapon, we have to first procure an illegal firearm from smashing Crimson Orbs so the arms dealer moves in. Before I'm able to do this, the dumb, stupid, idiot, dumb goblins invade, which can be taken care of with jester arrows and death, spiky balls. After this ordeal, we're in luck as the arms dealer has finally moved in to sell us gun. Now that we have our weapon, with the ores I mined up earlier, I craft a full set of gold armor, and the biggest hurdle of the game, being the pre-boss section, has been completed. Here's what my loadout looks like going into the first battle. The accessories here are mostly unimportant except for the Air Jordans, some form of double jump, and a hook. Our fight against the Eye of Cthulhu is completely trivial even in Master Mode, as the minishark absolutely shreds through its first phase. After beating his ass a little bit, he gets a little angry and sheds his iris, revealing a Cthulhu-esque second phase. It's fine. We beat his ass. It was at this point that I was thinking, damn, Master Mode is easy. I'm not going to regret choosing the hardest difficulty to prove a 10-year-old wrong at all. I was very wrong! If you're doing class-specific setups for your playthrough, I'd recommend a diamond or ruby staff for mage, the blade of grass for melee, and if for whatever reason you want to put yourself through playing summoner, a flinx or fletchling staff. Moving on to the next part of our progression, you're going to want to almost permanently equip the Shield of Cthulhu, as movement in this game is crucial to surviving for extended periods of time. I should also mention that if at any point in the early game you have a Blood Moon spawn, you'll want to take the time out of your day to farm as many enemies as possible for the Shark Tooth necklace that pairs exceptionally well with the minishark's low base damage and high fire rate. I drop down my elevator looking for the Goblin Tinker only to watch as he gets erased by an enemy that I can't reach. No! Stop, please! With the Goblin out of the way, you really don't need anything else to prepare for the fight against the Brain. If you struggle in this fight, the only advice I have for you is turn your monitor on, because even if you kill one of the balls that it has, you'll get the ability to upgrade your gear to the next tier. Fortunately for me, in a bit of an ass-clenching victory, I defeat the Brain on my first attempt. From here, the path is blown wide open, as you can easily upgrade to the most optimal gear for pre-hard mode. Craft a Deathbringer pickaxe from the remains of your enemies, and drop down your elevator to absolutely tear through the Hellstone ore, harder than my uncle. Real talk though, an obsidian potion is absolutely vital for this part and can be easily crafted with a fire blossom, water leaf, obsidian, and a water bottle. With all the Hellstone we need, we can optimally craft a full set of molten armor as well as a molten fury and molten pickaxe. For the 2 remaining progression bosses, we're going to be using the molten fury for Skeletron and the demon scythe for the wall of flesh. Did I mention that clearing out dungeon blocks for an arena is my favorite pastime? I love how slow they take to mine.
It's so fun!
Then when I was in the middle of building the arena, a slime rain started.
I love this game.
Anyway, once again, the Skeletron fight is practically harmless as long as you have a few functioning brain cells. A continuous circle pattern once he enters his cursed skull bullshit phase is enough to render him completely useless until he inevitably falls. The dungeon that unlocks with Skeletron defeated has nothing we want except the Cobalt Shield, which I luckily acquire on my first chest. With every other progression boss down, the Wall of Flesh is the only thing that stands between us and a completed pre-hard mode, so we grab some fletchling, balloon, sword, magnet. I am going fucking insane. Eventually we find fletchling wings and make our way to hell to begin our hunt for the demon scythe, which as a standalone weapon is nothing too special. But on the Wall of Flesh, it's an entirely different story as it shreds the hungry and does exceptional base damage. I set up a small platform with a water candle to increase spawn rates and checked the wiki to see that, oh, it's just a measly 1 in 35 drop chance, this won't take too long. I was very wrong. 2.5 hours later for a 1 in 35! I guess this is just balancing out for the good luck in the dungeon, right? Surely I won't go on to have terrible luck with every drop possible. Right? Usually I would say this is the most optimal route to go with weaponry because searching shadow chests for a good drop is the worst thing you could spend your time doing, and the other options are mediocre at best, especially for master mode. But when it takes 2 hours, I don't think that's exactly min-maxing anymore.
It's fine.
This is what our final loadout for the Wall of Flesh battle looks like, with a mixed class approach, with a mana flower to keep our mana topped up, despite the lack of mage accessories. And on our first try, we absolutely slammed the wall. Nope, we ran out of bridge space. And on our first try, we beat the wall by spamming our demon scythe. The first thing you're going to want to do as soon as you enter hard mode is cry, because things are going to be a lot harder from here on out. After a small existential crisis, we take to the Crimson to obliterate as many altars as possible for various ores. There's literally no point in the first 2 tiers of ore, as you can acquire the third immediately. Craft the pickaxe needed to mine the next tier, and then the next, and use the power of seeing through walls, motherfucker, to mine up enough titanium or adamantite for a full set of armor. With that out of the way, I'd recommend either sleeping in a bed if you're lazy, or farming the Wall of Flesh for emblems and cash while waiting for a hard mode goblin invasion to spawn. The new goblin invasion has the goblin summoners that have a guaranteed chance of dropping one of their Shadow Flame weapons, which are one of the strongest and easiest weapons to obtain at this point in time. I personally prefer the Shadow Flame knife the best, as it's essentially a ranged melee weapon, allowing you to have a higher defense with melee armor. Now it's time to get down to business. The full set I went with for the pre-mech bosses is a full set of frost armor, which I honestly think is harder to obtain and worse than titanium, but since I'm in master mode with adamantite, I went for it. You'll probably be fine with titanium or adamantite though, they're way easier to get. The Shadow Flame knife is my weapon of choice with some basic movement accessories, as well as a melee emblem, power glove, and feral claws. I think it's time now that I talk about buff potions, because as you can see, I've got a metric fuck ton of potions injected straight into my bloodstream, and honestly, these aren't necessary whatsoever if you're playing on normal or expert mode, so don't worry about them unless you're really struggling. But I digress, as we take on the twins and
Eviscerated.
we beat the absolute brakes off his ass on the run back and get our get back though. It was at this point that I learned that with a single target weapon, the destroyer is way too tanky, has way too many projectiles, and has... ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession to make. So I may have gotten mad and grinded for the Sky Fracture to easily kill the destroyer, and to be honest, this weapon isn't efficient at all. I mean, just look at the crafting tree. So let me just show you how it went when I tried it again with adamantite armor and the meteor staff, a much easier craft that still does immense AoE damage. For Skeletron Prime, I used a simple hollowed repeater with holy arrows, which are both very simple to craft for a massive output in damage at this stage in the game. Moving on from the mechanical trio now, the first part of the pre-plantera section is going to involve sleeping. So just grab your looking ass for however long you really want to allow chlorophyte and life roots to spread throughout the jungle. Pop another mysterious yellow potion that allows you to see ores through walls and go on an absolute de-chlorophyte-estation and grab any life roots that you happen to find. The setup we're going for requires 330 chlorophyte ore, which shouldn't actually be too bad considering how abundant it is in the jungle. You'll want to make a full set of chlorophyte ranger armor and the chlorophyte shot bow for maximum damage. Before taking on Plantera, we're going to want to make a quick trip to the dungeon before it gets harder with the stronger post-Plantera enemies. We're here for the Muramasa, which is most commonly in the first gold chest that generates. Now, you may be asking yourself, why Nick? Why do we need this shitty pre-hard mode sword? Well, loyal viewer, this sword becomes a nuclear weapon that will destroy all that stands in our way. The recent 1.4.4 buffs to the Terrorblade make it an even more exceptional weapon that will carry us to near endgame. I made the True Knight's Edge and True Excalibur in preparation of the Plantera fight, then took to the jungle and made a massive arena. Side note that I didn't mention earlier, make your arena before you mine chlorophyte, as you'll likely get quite a bit throughout the digging process. Here's the loadout that I went with the unmentioned accessories that I upgraded being the Avengers emblem, magic quiver, and just a slight upgrade to my boots or shield. All easy to get. Moving on to the Plantera fight, I smashed open the bulb and Plantera kindly told me, "Hey Nick, the underground jungle really isn't safe. You should go back home."
I am exploding from the inside out.
I pondered deeply about why this stupid plant amalgamation piece of shit was so goddamn fast when I had a sudden realization. I'm an absolute buffoon. I made my arena too big to the point where parts in the center are no longer considered a jungle biome, to the point that Plantera gets absolutely fucking pissed and goes ape mode on me. Don't do this. This is not optimal. I fashioned a new arena with considerably less space, and just like Skeletron, Plantera doesn't have enough functional neurons to combat the infinite circle technique. The second phase went, well, worse. Die, please! Die, bitch! Say it with me, baby. Not even close. With the myriad of bosses that once seemed daunting
Dead in the ground.
we immediately crash through the doors of Golem's temple and grab a solar tablet out of the first chest that we find. Summoning the solar eclipse yields a Mothron within minutes that drops a broken hero sword on the first try. The only change we make to our loadout is re-equipping some old melee accessories that we add, like the power glove and the warrior emblem, as well as craft a chlorophyte mask for the melee benefits as opposed to ranged. Blazing through the dungeon with the new Terrorblade, I finally make it to Golem's dungeon room, and I think it's no surprise to anyone that this sad excuse for a late game boss gets massacred by our new Terrorblade. Remember when I said our luck was going to be bad? We farm him 10 more times at base for an Eye of the Golem to begin our final stage of upgrading. At this point in the game, the only resource left untapped is the pillar weapons, which we will get to shortly, but let's get everything else out of the way first. We're finally upgrading our abysmal excuse of wings from the beginning of hard mode to either the steampunk wings for 3 platinum coins or beetle wings, which are way easier to make. With the recently acquired Eye of the Golem, we craft a destroyer emblem and make sure everything is reforged to menacing for maximum damage output. Don't use warding or you're a bitch. Now that all our accessories have been upgraded, I sleep to allow for even more chlorophyte to spread, as I'm going to need it for our final upgrade before endgame. Beetle armor. Turtle armor, the precursor to beetle armor, is crafted with chlorophyte and 3 turtle shells. A 6% chance from giant turtles. Now, before you put on your nerd glasses and say, 6% chances? How is that min-maxing? Just know that the alternative is the equivalent of sticking your balls in an industrial shredder in the dungeon, farming ectoplasm for spectre armor, or making an entire biome for shroomite. Nonetheless, after gathering all the materials we need for endgame, we take on the lunatic cultist and beat the absolute ever-living piss out of him with a Terrorblade possessed hatchet combo. The beetle armor keeps us excessively tanky, with the broken set bonus of having a hit do up to 45% decreased damage. 100% would recommend the defensive shell over the slight DPS increase scale mail. Destroyed. Now, celestial creatures are invading, and the most optimal path with this setup is to go solar, vortex, nebula, stardust. Hold on. Before you tell me I'm batshit crazy and that the solar pillar is way too hard to start with, Let me show you the beauty of the 1.4.4 Terra Blade against the Solar Pillar. They literally can't move. The high swing rate and knockback of the Terra Blade turned the usually difficult Solar Pillar to a goddamn cakewalk on Master Mode. With the Solar Pillar defeated, we can employ some of the most manly, courageous, and valiant tactics. Dig a hole and hide from all our problems, just like in real life. Real talk though, this is the easiest way to beat the Vortex Pillar without dying. The Nebula Pillar is just pain and suffering, with the only slight salvation being, once again, the infamous Infinite Circle. Lastly, we cheese the ever-living shit out of the Stardust Pillar by continually breaking Stardust cells until they reform into more Stardust cells. As impending doom approaches, I buff up, get my ass beat, refight the pillars, get my ass beat, and then go on to have Existential Crisis number 2.
It's fine.
I looked back at the footage and realized I just have a crippling skill issue and missed nearly half of my spears with the Daybreak. Here's what I came up with so even a monkey like me can beat this game on its highest difficulty setting. A Vortex Beater paired with some Chlorophyte bullets so you don't even have to aim, a full set of Beetle armor, and various accessories as shown here. This mixed class setup worked surprisingly well, and I was able to beat him on my next try. Nope, I got caught trying to cheese heal with the nurse. And on my next try, I took down the hardest boss in vanilla Terraria with minimal effort. God, why did I choose to play Master Mode?